Well, which I don't know does not exist. This I seen from a lot
All
of
right. Good morning, everyone.
entrepreneurs.
Let's start the webinar for today. Uh,
Yeah, sorry, there is an echo from the FB live. So this word which I have been seeing a lot of entrepreneurs who used to say, maybe used to think there's a mindset of the entrepreneurs or business owners who really fails. And that's the reason why we again restarted Be a Change. The only intention is like to provide adequate knowledge, business center education to the business owners. By the way, they can take their business to the next level. And I'm Bharati Rajai here. As you all know, I'm the founder of Be a Change as well as CEO of Touchmark Designs Private Limited. Uh, we are offering software development solutions. And well, today we have Lalit Kumar, a partner LKR Advisors. And I hope some of you have met Lalit before. He already presented in our one of our BA Change meetup in the initial stage. And it is, I think he was presented in the year 2014, somewhere around, I think.
yeah.
And again, he's coming back, and that's great. And why we have chosen this topic, I believe most of you have gone through the topic for the day today, what Lalit is going to share. And here I just would like to give you a brief, like somewhat there are around 6 crore MSME. The data is provided by Government of India. It's not my own data. There are around 6 crore MSME in the country, and they're offering like a lot of schemes are available, but 5 or 7 major schemes which usually people know to, like the Stand Up India, Startup India, Market Readiness Program, or something like that. So overall, which the government has so far dispersed 4,500 crore approximately in the year 2019. And another fact is there are only 1 to 2% of the MSMEs are availing the loan. And here, but on the other side, this 6 crore MSMEs are contributing around 27 percentage, nearly 27 percentage to the GDP of our country. And on the other side, around they're offering 11 crore job opportunities. But if this is the case, well, we must be proud to be an MSME. On the other side, like this COVID-19 conditions or even non-COVID conditions, which has also put us into a dump where we were unable to get funds. So always the cash flow is where we struck into. So that's where we thought of create a webinar. And here, what will be the key takeaways in the sense, after attending the webinar, I don't say that you won't get the loan. The thing is, I hope Lalit will give us or advise us how to equip ourselves to make sure that we are ready to avail loans, or how to keep ourselves ready for to face the financial challenges in future. That's what from my end. I hope Lalit will, he will give us a lot of insight more. And now I'll give the presentation to Mr. Lalit. Hi Lalit, it's your.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bharati. Yes, of course, I made the first initial presentation in way back in 2014, 15 types with you guys. I still remember it very well. What I'm going to do today is I have about 15 slides with me, and I'm going to keep this very, very crisp and very straightforward for you guys, so that each one of you have some message to take away from this. At the end of the session will be, I wanted to give more time for the Q&A so that all the questions can be answered up. I'm going to throw upon a lot of numbers post my interaction over here with a lot of startups in the last 1 month, the state government officials, the finance ministry officials, and also throw up how are we looking, in the short term, in the midterm, and at the long term. So basically in this 15 slides, I have broken up the agenda this way. I'm going to show you what is the industry dynamics at this point of time and how rapidly it is changing. And of course, the first disclaimer, bear with me. I have after a very, very long time from our typical PPT PowerPoint presentation, which has been typed. I have written it by hand, so you have to bear with me the handwriting. So industry dynamics and how it is revolving, and how difficult it is for a country like India to move up, all the schemes, policies which has been figured out. What is the present scenario? Based on my discussions for last 15 days, how are we looking? Deals, banking, funding. So all of those will be presented. What are all the measures which has been taken by other countries, and what are all the banking measures which are being given by India as such? I'm also going to throw what are all the SIBI related schemes which have come up, and that is the only thing which has come up at this point of time. I'm very, very critical of this government because there's a lot of lag effect which is there, and they have not taken up action at this point of time, which is supposed to have been taken. What is the valuation impact we are seeing for startups and MSMEs in case you guys are going for funding? And what is the way forward? We look out my ideas in terms of, hey, what should we be doing, right? Each one of us might have some ideas to share with, so we'll take that up as well. Bharti, interrupt me in case you're not able to see the presentation, or in case you're not able to listen to me fully.
Sure, Lalit, I'll do that. And anyhow, the questions will be addressed later. So
Yeah.
anything, I'll address you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
So the changing industry equilibrium dynamics, it's very important for you to understand what is the ripple effect which we are foreseeing at this point of time, right? Just imagine this. In terms of construction and real estate, we are the second largest employer after Agri. In terms of Indian textile, we contribute almost 2% of India's GDP, right? It employs almost 4.5 crore people directly. In terms of Indian IT, it contributes 10% of India's GDP and employs 45 lakh. The important point to note over here is Indian textile is more of skilled. We are the 10th largest oil producer and 3rd largest oil consumer. Our Indian automobile is world's 4th largest by production. In terms of telecommunication, we are the 2nd largest by users, 2nd largest cement and steel producer, 3rd largest electricity producer. Our contribution of aviation to GDP is 2.5%. Contribution of tourism to GDP is almost 10%. So you can imagine the hit which we are taking at this point of time in terms of in aviation and tourism alone, right? One of the important criteria to note over here is $90 billion have been spent by tourists in India in 2019. So almost $40 billion of which is spent by Indians. Combined March and April, where there was a lockdown and tourists were declining, we had almost $8 billion which was unspent, right? So we have close to about 55,000 crore which will be spent now in the system once the lockdown is opened up, because there's a lot of tourism which is completely taken hit. People have not traveled and that money is lying idle. So you need to also ripple effect is going to take up. How the present scenario is looking? A very good friend of mine shared this particular anecdote with me. So there's a family in a car which is traveling during a total lockdown situation. The distance of the car travel is determined by the quantity of fuel in tank, the mileage, which is the efficiency of the car. The next available is the petrol bunk, which you have to see. So now the car represents your organization, the family represents your employees, the fuel represents your cash, the mileage efficiency represents your expenses, and the distance to the next petrol bunk is the time taken for cash flow situation to normalize, which is going to be in another 2 or 3 months. Postscript: for safety of passengers and car depends on the driver of the car, who is the business owner, who just cannot afford to panic, right? Which is very, very crucial. The moment he panics, then there's an accident and the entire family, who is your employees, the fuel, everything goes for a toss. But it's very important that the owner follows these 5 R's which is given by McKinsey, right? Resolve, resilience, return, reimagination, and reform. Very crucial that each of the owner over here, puts this up very clearly, saying that, hey, how is he going to resolve? How is he going to be resilient? How is he going to return back to normalcy? How is he reimagine the things which are going to happen in the economy? And then how is he going to reform each of those? What I have been seeing in the last 2 months, right? Few of those things are sad. And at the end of the presentation, you might feel that, hey, I'm looking more kind of frustrated than seeing the positive side of things. But that is the hard truth which I'm going to like. There's been employees who are expecting 20-25% bonus on March 12th, or fired now on April 12th. In a month, straight away from bonus situation, you're almost moving to firing situation. Those employees who believe that they have skills and were successful, now in an extended remote situation, or feeling that, look, their skills are no way valued now and they are no more successful. Sanction letters which were given by banks, I'm speaking with a lot of bankers and I'm getting to hear this from them. So whatever sanction letters were given by them are now getting revised or being brought downwards, as they are seeing credit and business risk very, very clearly. And on the startup space, deals where discussions were going on, right, have been put off completely. So there is no discussions, actively which have been pursued at this point of time, barring few which are going on. Deals where due diligence were going on is now put on hold. So, hey, they want to look out how things are going to look 6 months down the line, and hence whatever due diligence was carried on or been put on hold. I was part of 3 due diligence at this point of time for the purpose of investment. All the 3 have been put on hold at this point of time. Deals where SHA signing was pending, the shareholders agreement signing was pending, is now reviewed for revised valuation. Obviously, the situation warrants at this point of time for valuation number to go completely downward. We are seeing 50% valuation being cut, and hence promoters are not at this point of time happy in terms of taking any sort of dilution. And deals where amount have been infused are now being monitored for payment, right? So employees are either asking or being asked to leave or take a significant pay cut. Each one of us in this particular webinar is aware of this fact that either you're asking your employee to take a pay cut or asking him to leave, or you're probably deferring the payments, or there's a significant cut in terms of salaries, and then you're providing them in some form, some sort of ESOP. So I'm trying to structure a lot of such deals. I'm also taking a lot of hard decision on behalf of promoters, because naturally employees are your family members. You can't talk tough to them. You need a third party person to take such tough calls. It's really embarrassing at the end of the day when you fire someone who has been part of your company for 8-10 years. But that's how the situation for not coming up aggressively in terms of helping this up. So operation closure notices are being given for 3 to 6 months since there's no adequate funding at this point of time. Significant payroll cut is happening. People are retaining only core team at this point of time and asking the other people to take a leave. There's a complete supply chain distribution, which has been drastically disrupted. And we are still having a very, very chaotic situation at this point of time. I'm pretty sure each one of you would have seen the notification released yesterday by Ministry of Home Affairs, where they said that, hey, essentials and non-essentials both can start opening up from today. And there's still a chaos. I have received several calls from morning saying that, hey, can they open up? They have not given clarity in terms of hotspot zone, whether it can be open up. Tamil Nadu is going to see a lockdown from tomorrow. So again, there's not a clarity in terms of whether the state regulations will overtake and supersede the central regulations. So there's at top level, there's a lot of chaotic kind of situation being created by the government themselves. VC funding has completely dried up. The father of all the SoftBank is in big trouble. We have seen the all the deals taken by them, done by them at this point of time, is completely going for a toss. So how did I predict what is the total loss to the economy? I have put a few numbers, right? And over here in this webinar might just be saying that, hey, how can the package look like 10 lakh crore just 5% of GDP, or fiscal deficit at 4%. And if we issue such a package, do we have funds? Can RBI print notes? Does government have adequate resources to pull up, right? So basic calculation is this. So basically you have three sectors: the agriculture, the industry, and the services. In industry, you have mining, manufacturing, and electricity. The services is construction, trade, hotel, financial, and public administration. GVA is nothing but your GDP plus your direct taxes minus your subsidy. So basically, this is your main sort of GDP figure. So agricultural constitutes almost 16% of GDP. Your industry contributes almost 22%, and your services does close to about 62%. I think someone is marking something red on the screen. I don't know who that.
I think
total is.
Please don't mark. I think even if you touch the screen, it will come like this. Can you please, who mark? Can you please?
What I did is, yeah. So the 28 days lockdown loss is what I have estimated at this point of time. So this is basically calculated saying that how is your GVA going to look like, and 28 divided by 365. So the agriculture industry loss is close to about 1 crore, 1 lakh crore. Your manufacturing close to about 2 lakh crore. Your construction, your financial, real estate, professional services, which every one of us provide, is close to about 3 lakh crore. The total loss of 28 days lockdown is close to about 10 lakh crore, right? 280 lakh crore. So we are seeing a very, very, very big ripple effect coming up. I don't know, probably government is realizing that there's a first order impact. Economics suggests us that there is always a second and third order impact, which many of us don't even realize, right? And let me give you a very classic example. In 1958 in China, the leader Mao Zedong, started a 4-pest campaign, right? So basically, the idea of 4-pest campaign was to kill 4 sparrows, right? And they killed entire sparrows in China. So what happened? Because technically the sparrows were eating the farmer's crop. So this is the first order impact where killing of sparrows took place. What the government did not realize is the sparrows in turn were eating insects, right? And were keeping their population manageable. And the locust, which was a natural predator for these insects, were sparrows. And because of which 2,000 people lost their lives in China, right? And then the government realized, hey, we did not think and imagine about the second and third order impact, right? And then they imported 250 lakh, sparrows from Soviet Union in turn to kill these insects, right? So moral of the story is very straightforward. When you think of first order impact, you literally don't realize where the second and third order impact is going to come from. And at this point of time, I frankly believe, having seen the last 1 month response from the government, bureaucrats have absolutely no clue in terms of how to run the business. I'm saying this probably live and online where I'm not supposed to, but let me make this on record. They have absolutely no clue in terms of how the policies are, how the ripple effect in terms of. So very, very quickly, we are going to see a catastrophe. We have already seen. I'm pretty sure that many of you would have seen what just happened with Franklin Templeton, where 28,000 crore of asset under management is locked up in the credit risk fund because of illiquidity. Banks are absolutely in fear mode at this point of time. I'm going to show you why and where that fear is coming from. Having seen this, you have to also realize how countries around the world, are helping the employees and employers, right? And I've taken on sample 6 out of almost 50 countries at this point of time who have announced not one, almost 2 or 3 packages at this point of time. Take the example of UK. 3 months, all employers can get 80% government funding for worker salaries, which is up to £2,500 a month. US, income support for families of $1,200 for each adult and $500 for children. So they are tapping close to about $250 billion of unemployment insurance. Spain, affected workers will receive full salary during lockdown, plus allowance for temporary workers has been given. Saudi Arabia, which is now anyways having a big issue in terms of their crude oil fall, right? And despite that, government is going to cover up 60% of salaries for up to 3 months for companies which are under stress. Germany, on the other side, employees will tap a $26 billion insurance funds guarantees 60% of the basic payout. It's also trying to do all out in terms of providing at least $1,000. One who is their citizen is getting that. Right? When all the countries are doing this around and they are not really giving a care, saying that, hey, how is my fiscal deficit going to look like? And what we have a statement is, yeah, we are carefully watching the economy, right? It's really, really sad. People are making a lot of memes. There's a lot of support which is given by the government. I have a few bureaucrats, who are working very closely with the government. They are saying that government has did a fantastic job when it comes to, reducing and mitigating the risk which is coming at this point of time from they are completely clueless in terms of how we see what. And probably that was an instant reaction yesterday by the Ministry of Home Affairs, all of a sudden realizing that the longer they keep this closed, the bigger the impact they have to face. Forget about COVID, it's going to be much more. People are getting into depression mode. People are completely becoming restless. So there's a bigger concern for them. And this has been completely shown by CMI. Bharti mentioned that, hey, look, we are providing 4 crore employment to MSME. We are the biggest sector. All that is fine. Now everything is going to go for a toss. You would have seen from 1st March to 19th April how things have changed. We were almost on an unemployment rate of 5%. That itself is huge for a country like India. Now we are sitting with a 25% unemployment rate at this point of time, right? And that's almost like 3.4 crore people to 8.8 crore. So we have almost added 5 crore people in terms of absolute number for unemployment. The labor force participation on the other side have reduced from 42% to 32%, right? That is another 8 CR. So total joblessness at this point of time is 12.5 crore. Almost like, 10% of India's population is sitting jobless, right? Which is very, very significant concern, because if you don't have money to spend, and mind you, 60% of the GDP is constituted by demand side, consumer related, discretionary spending. Right? If that is going to get killed, you have absolutely, no way to pick up your GDP. And if GDP does not increase, you will have again a cascading effect coming into picture. So when this joblessness figure is going to increase, the CMI predicts that close to 20 crore people are going to go jobless by July, right? So, which is very, very significant. I don't know what government has planned at this point of time to increase this, by some sort of package to reduce and mitigate this joblessness figure at this point of time. I've put up this chart, my thoughts in terms of how the recovery should look like. So on the left side of the axis, you have your effectiveness of public health response, how we are going to respond in terms of our virus. I think we have did an excellent job. You will have a that is how the sea, right? Where the virus is contained, but there's a slow recovery which is going to be there. Basically, we should be falling into this category. So over a point of time, again, we'll see some sort of slightly U-curve recovery, where we might end will be in box recurrence after 3 months or 6 months, as well as there's a long term growth which is going to happen. So there's a zigzag recovery which is going to happen, where we expect and where we should be. Nothing like it if we fall in box G, right? Where the virus is also contained and there's a huge growth recovery which is going to happen over the next 6 months to 1 year. So there's going to be a V-shaped, U-shaped kind of recovery which is going to happen. We should be back to normal within a year. It's completely on box C, right? So there's a partial effective intervention which is there, and crisis has been avoided, but recovery levels are muted. I think box C is where again we can be. So very important. Now it is on the ballpark of government, right? How much time they want to take in terms of the economic recovery. It can be 1 year, it can be 5 years. So it is completely up to the government whether they want to bring us back to the normal levels in 1 year, or do they want to take time and make it back in 5 years. Someone has again marked it in red. I may request you can please cross that up. So how government is going to react? What is their thought process going to look like? So basically you need to start breaking now into stages and state-wise. So we'll have basically government saying that, hey, look, next 6 months each state have their limitations, saying that whether you want to open the business or no. Kerala, by the way, last week have opened up substantial amount of business. The restaurants are opened up back. So it's going to be going for the. It's very important to note that Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, UP, Gujarat, and Karnataka are the major state which contributes majority of your GDP. So government will have some plan for these 5 states, because if these 5 states fail, everything is gone for a toss, right? So you need to have a special plan for these 5 states. I think powers will be given to state to take effective action plan. The respective branches of banks of these states will be given some power to provide for extra cushion, liberty, sanction coming into picture. So I think Tamil Nadu should get more benefit, because majority of our auto players are over here. And mind you, auto constitutes 50% of the manufacturing GDP, which is almost 7.5% of India's GDP, right? So we will see some special plans both from central government as well as state government to provide us for Tamil Nadu. So you can look out for some leeway coming into picture for those states. Coming to MSME now, so there's not much measure. So when Bharti gave me this topic to speak on, I said him, hey, look, I'm going to take liberty to include a lot of other stuff apart from MSME, because there's nothing much to speak at this point of time, as they have not come up. And those they have come up is like completely absurd. I'll tell you why it is absurd. So there's an helpline which has been provided. So this is a platform which is a helpline for yourself. It is basically for MSME owners and government to interact and seek resolution. Seek resolution is an important work, because we don't know what is the resolution they are going to provide at this point of time unless package is going to come up. So it is for the government to know, hey, what are all the specific issues being faced and what is the intensity. So அவங்க எப்படி பிரேக் பண்ணிருக்காங்கன்னா, இதுல சென்ட்ரல் லெவல், ஸ்டேட் லெவல் அண்ட் சப்போர்ட் லெவல். By the way, I'm not speaking too much in Tamil because I understand there are a lot of people who have joined from North India as well. So mind you, I'm just trying to maintain a common language at this point of time. So central level are going to measure matters related to loan, banking and subsidy, GST, labor, licenses, GEM portal is there. Influences, if you have, you can provide. I don't know how they are going to react back to us at this point of time. I had sent close to about 2 queries to them. Industry-wise queries are being broken up. I've still not received a reply from them. And then there's a state-level nodal officer to which queries will go. So in case you have specific permission for your E-related, pollution-related license from government, so you can give it support level, which is more of general. So in case you're facing some cash crunch, cash flow issues, payment issues, demand sale issues, employment issue, you can put up. So the purpose to me looks like they want to know what is the intensity of the issues at this point of time. I don't think they're going to take up any significant action. It is just kind of a thermometer, barometer kind of stuff, right? To check out the temperature is increasing, they'll come up with the package. If the temperature is normal, then we are going to take a good amount of time. There are two schemes which has come by SIDBI, right? And basically, if you look like SIDBI is trying to do something, but again they are messing up very, very badly because there's a good amount of fear which even SIDBI is having. So there's a safe plan, there's a safe plus plan, and there's a smile plan. I'm going to provide the crux at the end. So basically what this plan says is, hey, look, if there's any existing or new SIDBI customers, we are offering you loan for 50 lakhs, either as a term loan or working capital loan. We don't want any collateral. We are ready to give you 5% interest rate. Period is close to about 5 years. But only if you are providing any product or services relating to fighting COVID, right? Which is your permitted drugs, sanitizers, masks, gloves, ventilators, labs. I'm going to provide you this, or else I'm not going to do you. Safe Plus, what does it do? So there is existing customer again, SIDBI customer, MSME executing. So this is very specific, right? Those MSME who are executing government orders. So specifically, if government is coming up with some specific order saying that, hey, we require A, B, C, D, whatever it can be general, it can be related to COVID. At that point of time, we are ready to give you some sort of interest subsidy up to 2 crore of amount. Kind of goods or services. So they have not defined that emergency. It can be anything and everything. And SMILE is more kind of healthcare sector. So where production on services of medical product procured by state governments can be used to acquire. And only thing is, only if those items which are not allowed and related to COVID-19, it is not allowed. So any of our listeners at this point of time, in case you are falling in any of these segments, kindly please go and apply. The revert time is 24 hours to 48 hours. So I think if you're in medical, any sort of medical related, field, probably you should go and apply for this. So that is for the general. What has SIDBI did for startups, or you can call it as MSME as well, right? So they are ready to provide you a working capital kind of facility, but within 45 days to 90 days, right? Look at the timings. 45 days to 90 days, a business gets completely screwed. There's going to be a committee of 5 members to be set up. They have not yet set up those 5-member committee, right? 3 of which will be government committee and 2 from venture capital industry. I don't know when are they going to set up. Tenor is 36 months of loan facility which will be given. Limit is max 2 crores. So what are all the conditions they have set up? Look, this is going to be very, very interesting. You need to look at those conditions to even believe how they top or thinking. Should be registered with DAPP. Fine, I'm okay with it. Somehow I'll register myself with DAPP. Should have received funding from venture capital, private equity, or an angel fund, right? So this almost rules out 80% of the guys. Because angel, whoever as your friend, family, relative, if they have put money in your business, they are not eligible. It has to be either a venture capital or a private equity or an angel fund. Minimum you should be having 50 employees, and interest rate at which I'm going to give you this loan is close to about 12%. You should be having turnover of 20 crore to 60 crore. So I don't know where this limit, from where they have thought this limit. Now comes the most crucial point. EBITDA should be positive. You should have a positive net worth. Almost rules out 99.5% of these startups. If I'm going to be positive, why do I require fund? If I'm going to have a turnover of 30 crore, why do I require fund? If I'm going to have a minimum employee of 50, I know that I have funds, so I'll be running them. If you're going to give me a loan at 12%, why do I require? I mean, I can go and any day take a personal loan at 12, 13%. Why do I require a SIDBI special assistance scheme for this purpose? And if there's a VC and private equity guy who is already invested, then why do I have to come to you? I'll go to them and check for funding. So, I mean, the intention is completely off the case. They just don't want to give any sort of benefit to anyone. And they just want to rule out every single person who is going to come up. So name vaste, they are publicizing a newspaper saying that, hey, I have come up with a startup assistance scheme. When you go and read the terms and conditions, I mean, you will find such idiotic things coming into picture. So you need to be very, very careful. Terms and conditions apply is going to rule the case for next 1 year, where you need to take it with a sort of pinch of salt. So what are the banking measures which is going to come up? There's a lots and lots of amount of funds which are, but when you go and ask, right, there was one client of ours just last worth 1 crore. Normal conditions on market pre-COVID, he's just for 20 lakhs. He's saying to the banker, please take my property for 1 CR. Please disburse me only 20 lakhs. The bank said no, because we don't have a clear instruction from our head office saying that, hey, do we have to sanction? Do we have challenging for anyone at this point of time? And I'll tell you how much funds they are flushed with, right? The cash credit, the cash reserve ratio, which is deposits which the bank have, a portion of those deposits they have to keep with RBI, right? And that has been reduced now by 100 bips to 3%. So this is going to inject almost 1.37 lakh crore into the system. Last 20 days, you would have seen the reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is nothing but end of the day, bank has funds. It doesn't know what to do. So it does not lend to the people. And RBI says that, okay, since you're not lending to the people, you can deposit it, with me. And I'm going to provide you 3.75% return, right? In simple layman language, this is what reverse repo means. In normal general sense, bank their deposits are close to about 4.5%. So their margins is close to about 6-7% coming into picture. Despite reducing this reverse repo rate from 4.75% to 3.75%, banks are still going and depositing it with RBI. They are still not lending it to the corporation. This was classically seen when there was a TLTRO facility which was launched by RBI. They said that, hey, look, 50,000 crores of special window I'm going to provide you. Banks can go and apply for it. And NBFCs and microfinance institutions, like everyone over here knows, are the most impacted, right? Banks can go bid for it and can in turn provide it to these microfinance and NBFC guys. So what happened day before yesterday when they opened up this window for 25,000 crore? Banks hardly, did for 50% of that 25,000 crore. So they totally bid for 12,500 crore. So no, they're completely afraid, saying that, hey, okay, I'm going to apply, going to check out for, where am I going to give, to which NBFC, to which, microfinance. I don't have guidelines saying that when I give, whether I'm going to get the money returned back. So there's no clarity over there. Each one of us know that, yes, there's been an EMI moratorium allowed by bankers. So each specific bank have their own rules. So accordingly, there's a 3-month window which has been given. The good part is insolvency has been put on hold at this point of time. So the threshold has been increased from 1 lakh to 1 crore. So in case if you have some dues where you're not, got from a party and which is more than 1 lakh, erstwhile before COVID, you can go and put an application to NCLT saying that, hey, look, there's an insolvency proceeding which I have to provide. That was increased to 1 crore, because government realized that there's going to be a lot of litigation which is going to come up. what I hear from my sources is they are going to put the entire insolvency, because 1 crore is also nothing. There are bigger corporation which have 5 crore, 10 crore due. So if those goes on bankruptcy, then I think drawing power of banks, of borrowers have been, in case you have any sanction, please, your bank is going to reduce this DP based on your revised inventory as well as receivables. The good part is there's an extension, of realization period of export proceeds. So earlier, in case you made exports, within 9 months, you need to get back the funds, right? And now this period has been increased to 15 months. So mandatorily within 15 months, you need to get back all your export proceeds. 7.2 lakh crore has been parked by banks with RBI at this point of time. This is a huge money which is lying in the system, which is not lent to us, which is the business owners, startups, SMEs, MSMEs, you call it anyway, corporates. It's not being lent by the bank. I spoke with the managers, they have absolute fear. It's more like of a trigger point for them, because they are saying that, hey, Lalit, look here, right? And we are being questioned by our seniors saying that, hey, look, there's an NPA which has come up, genuine lending which has happened and stopped, or he's been fired, the bank manager's been fired. So there's a fear saying that, okay, if we lend in this situation, we don't know whether we'll receive the money or not. So better not to lend, better give it to RBI. At least we are getting some 3.5% interest from RBI. So there's a 7.2 lakh crore being parked with RBI at this point of time. So government has to do two things. One, it has to come out very clearly and say that please start lending. Left, right, center, they have to lend as much as possible to the enterprises which are there. RBI has to come and say that please lend. We will not question you at this point of time for next 6 months. There might be 5%, fraud cases which might come up, who might wantedly not pay, but there are 95% genuine cases who really require funds at this point of time, for which you literally need to lend. So there's a fear which is there, and there's a risk aversion which people want to take at this point of time. So for you guys, please be prepared for the following questions, right? In case you're going for loan subsequently, or even if you're not going for a loan, in case you have any investor invested in your startup, the following will be the question which will be asked by the banker. And I've broken this up into two parts, the supply side part and the demand side part. So supply side, your answer should be ready for these questions. What is the price variation of key raw materials which has happened in last 1 month and which is going to happen in next 3 months? Be ready with this. What is the production shutdown impact, both for the manufacturing entity as well as services, in case they are providing services? So bankers are asking very, very specific questions for these. So be prepared for it. You can't give them a random answer saying that we had 20% fall, we are going to have another 20% fall. You need to prove by numbers in terms of what was the production shutdown. You need to prove it with numbers. What is the likely impact which is going to happen at this point of time? What is the labor force impact? So whenever you're going to ask for fund, the bank is going to ask you two questions. Do you require it for CapEx? Do you require for operating related expenses? If it's for CapEx, I think they're going to put this project on hold at this point of time. If it is for OpEx, which is more of, buying side of it, I think you should be ready with what is the labor force impact you're going to have. You need to also have your cash flows prepared for next 6 months. So next 6 months, cash evlo irukka poradhu, inflow evlo vara poradhu, and evlo outflow poga poradhu ready ah vechukonga. In terms of numbers, evlo irukka poradhu net cash you require, bank is going to ask you. What is the supply chain impact for this 4 points? Again, they are going to question you. You need to prove them, saying that my supply chain is back to normal and everything is, looks to be okay. I'm in an industry where there is not much of a supply chain impact, and hence you need to again tell them that this is how going to look like. Nama eppadi project report prepare pandromo, adhe madri ipo vandu covid ku solli or tani report prepare பண்ண சொல்லுவாங்க banks. So you need to be really prepared. In terms of bank manager வந்து existing facility increase பண்ணுவான் or new facility நீங்க போய் கேட்டீங்கன்னா he is going to provide you for that. So estimated revenue plan எப்படி இருக்க போறது, எங்கேந்து வர போறது, எங்கேந்து வர போறது இல்ல, you need to tell them to. Demand sideல நீங்க என்ன சொல்லணும்னா உங்க key clients எல்லாம் யார் யார் இருக்காங்க, அவங்களுக்கு வந்து சர்வீஸ்லாம் டிஸ்டர்ப் ஆயிருக்கா, whether service has been disrupted for them at this point of time, and what is the contribution of key clients to revenue. So உங்களுக்கு ஒரு 10 client தான் நீங்க சர்வீஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கீங்க, அவங்க வந்து contributes almost 80% of my business na, banker is going to ask what is the business impact for those particular 10 clients. So it's very important for you to know what is the impact of those businesses for the clients. In case you are exporting or importing, you need to know எந்தெந்த கண்ட்ரீஸ்க்குலாம் வந்து எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க, which are all the countries which are open up post lockdown, which are all the countries from where you can import, அந்தந்த கண்ட்ரீஸ்க்கு இம்போர்ட் ஸ்டேட்டஸ் ஏதாவது கிடைக்கிறதா இல்லையா. So all those things know நீங்க லோக்கலா தெரியறதோட குளோபலா கூட தெரிஞ்சாகணும் if you are in an export business. Consumer sentiment index, I think bankers end of the day வந்து இதுதான் பார்க்க போறாங்க, எப்படி sentiment எப்படி மாறிட்டு இருக்கு அந்த சிச்சுவேஷன்ல இருந்து வந்து they are going to give loan or they are not going to give you loan. If there is any inventory losses, so எக்கச்சக்க பேர் வந்து last 20 daysல வந்து ஓபன் பண்ணிருக்க மாட்டோம் our godown, our factories, our plants. So there's going to be a lot of inventory losses because few are perishable items, few are non-perishable items. I have one client who is in ஸ்ரீபெரும்புத்தூர்ல இருக்காங்க, அவங்க ஒரு glass printing fiber machine ஒரு தைவான்ல இருந்து வாங்கினாங்க. To kickstart that machine, it takes, and kickstart and do the production, it takes close to about 15 days time. And once on the machine is stop antona, you will almost need to wait for 15 more days to kickstart that machine, right? So you will have almost 2 months of lag effect where production is completely going to go for a toss. There's going to be an inventory loss which is going to happen at this point of time. Receivables, யார் யார் கிட்ட இருந்து பைசா வாங்க வேண்டியிருக்கோ அவங்க கண்டிப்பா வந்து there's going to be a default which is going to happen, and hence you need to prove to your bank because your inventory and receivable is only going to determine your drawing power. உங்க DP at this point of time for your overdraft facility and CC facility is being done based on this inventory and receivable. The rate of DP is going to reduce significantly at this point of time. My last 2 slides. So for those startups who are there in this call, basically a lot of them asked me in terms of what is the valuation impact eppadi irukka porudhu. So basically valuation pathina 3 aspects la indha investor are doing, right? One is the NAV valuation, another is your DCF valuation, and third is the market multiple valuation. In the 3 method na follow பண்ணுவாங்க general valuation பண்றது. NAV method pathina there is no more positive net worth which is lying at this point of time, and there's an inventory and receivable loss which is happening. So you need to restate your financials for you to tell that, hey, this is my asset value, this is my liabilities value, net this is my value. Since there is no revenue at this point of time and hence there is no profit, NAV is gone case. Complete மறந்துட வேண்டியதான் நீங்க NAV method. DCF method, DCF எப்படி பண்ணுவோம்னா next 5 yearsக்கு projection பண்ணுவோம், saying that this is my revenue, this is my cash flow, this is my profit, and then I find the present value. இன்னைக்கு என்ன வேல்யூ இருக்கோ simple language ல சொல்லணும்னா what is the value of 5-year cash flow as on date, right? Question mark now. Cash flow is uncertain, so you don't know next 5 years, forget 5 years, next 1 year what is it going to be your cash flow at this point of time. The focus is going to be on working capital. If that working capital is going to take hit, you don't know what you are going to do with DCF. Requirement உங்களுக்கு எந்த பைசா வந்து DCF ல யூஸ் பண்ண போறீங்க, that is going to be question, and hence there's no future value itself. So DCF method வந்து gone case. Market multiple method, this is where 99% of the deals in India take place, saying that, hey, look, I'm a competitor of a company which has got funding. That competitor has got a funding at revenue multiple of 10x, 20x, 30x, EBITDA multiple of 50x, 70x, 100x. Now give me that multiple. The question is multiples have dropped so significantly. If you're putting a revenue multiple of 10 and if the revenue is 0, there's no multiple which you can apply it. If you're putting an EBITDA multiple of 20, there's no EBITDA at this point of time which you're multiplying it. So உங்க market multiple method இப்போ use பண்ண முடியாது. So because of these three parameters, deals have dried down. Investors who are holding on to cash, they will continue to hold on cash. அவங்க already invest பண்ணாங்களோ last 6-7 yearsல they have not got exit. The entire startup model is being questioned now. So company oda model வந்து இப்போ question பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சிடுறாங்க, saying that okay fine, we are tired of your user base increase பண்றேன், customer base increase பண்றேன், revenue base increase பண்றேன். End of the day, I have been saying this for almost 9-10 years. I'm a Marwadi, right? So Marwadi la end of the day la cash profit galla la irundha da we get a peaceful sleep. So if we don't have money at the end of the day in our galla, we lose mad. So it's very important that, and now ultimately they are questioning, saying that hey, where's the cash, where's the profit? You can't question. When you wanted to invest, you should have questioned that. Now if you're questioning, saying that where's the cash, where's profit, you're gone. So there are concerns which are there for previous investments which are being made. There are no top-ups being provided at this point of time by any sort of startup, and because of which a lot of startups are closing down. Global market is also gone for a toss. So we are seeing SoftBank, not lending anyone, and hence because of which we are completely seeing that no deals are happening. Because SoftBank the major, அவன் இருக்கிற வரைக்கும் தான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து இந்த Sequoia, Axel, everyone is lying. And if SoftBank does not take up, ultimately you have seen Oyo, what has happened. Oyo's valuation has dropped almost 70% in last 1 month because there's no one to go occupy. Flipkart's valuation has dropped by 50%. All the valuation are going to go for a toss. And if this valuation comes down, I don't know who is going to invest further. Final, what is my expectation? Having said almost all the things, right, Lalit, finally, enna solla varinga neenga, what needs to be done at this point of time? There is a national infra plan which was released by government in January of this year. Over the next 5 years, they had planned to make investment for 100 lakh crore. It's a mega plan. It's a mega plan. Road, transport, infra. Now, India la pathina 60% of the people who work or because of infra related, expansion which happened. Because infra ninga panninga, real estate is going to boom. Real estate boom aachuna, cement, steel players are going to boom. If those are going to boom, now consumer related end are going to boom. So the central point of focus is on infra. I might sound stupid, but government needs to waive off all the taxes for next 6 months. And I'm saying this because economics says that the focus should not be on monetary policy, the focus should be on fiscal policy. Because fiscal policy enna solradhuna, only when you have tax cut, people will have more money. Because tax cut pannite, only when you have revenue, you will have situation to pay tax, right? So once revenue starts coming up, don't pay tax. Cut off all tax, waive off all tax for next 6 months. People have started not realizing that this is very, very significant measure. Of course, government is going to take a hit for 12 lakh crore. அதுக்குன்னு ஒரு தனியா பிளானே இருக்கு, how they can come up. Because Indiaவோட GDP debt to GDP பாத்தீங்கன்னா 55% தான் இப்போ at this point of time, right? Whereas US ஓடுது, Japan ஓடுது, China ஓடுது, everyone is almost like 120%, 150%, 2%, 200% of debt to GDP. So they have double time the debt than the GDP. We are just at 55%. So even if we borrow from World Bank or from external sources, 10-15 lakh crore, our GDP will still be, debt to GDP will still be 75%. So we have a good amount of leeway. We can easily borrow for 20 lakh crore also. There's no problem at all. Kickstart the credit funding. There's a heavy weightlifting which has to happen from the banks. They have to be given sanctions. Health-oriented reform. Ipo health ordu pathina, it's a state subject at this point of time. Make it a central subject, because at this point of time, you are spending only 1.5% of GDP on health. Make that at 10%, because on defense, we are spending close to about 10%, right? Which is least oriented at this point of time. Expand your borrowing. The current borrowing is close to about 8 lakh crore. We can easily increase it to 20 lakh crore. There's a contingency fund which is lying with RBI. RBI at any point of time has some sort of contingency fund. At this point of time, the contingency fund is worth 8 lakh crore, right? And the purpose of contingency fund is only if there is an untoward incident in the economy, economic collapses, there's an attack on India, you use this contingency fund. That's why the word of contingency. They're still not utilizing this contingency fund. What are they waiting for? You have a contingency in terms of COVID. Go ahead and utilize this, utilizing it. And ultimately kickstart your infra cycle, right? Because unemployment at this point of time is 25% from 6.5%. It will come up to 35-40%, and you will have a much bigger problem than this COVID to face up. I think this is broadly my analysis of what I am seeing in the last 1 month. There's a lot of there might be a recency bias I might have because of the emotional decision I had to take in last 20-25 days for a lot of startups. So bear with me in case there's a difference of thought. I think I'm purely a number-oriented guy, and whatever I'm speaking is based on numbers and what government can do in terms of going all out and giving the confidence. I had some hope from them saying that they are going to do something very, very significant when we went for a lockdown. 1 month is over, entire Ramayana episode is over, and we still don't have anything significant coming from them. God forbid if something goes wrong, we'll have a bigger challenge to come into picture. I'm open up for question at this point of time.
Wow.
Hold on, let me take up the...
Thank you so
Bharti,
much.
please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Lalit. Can able to see the same passion in your presentation, like how you did in 2015. Thank you so much for that. And the main thing you said is like cut the taxes for 6 months. I'm really happy, but I don't know whether the government will do that or not. Okay, Lalit, maybe...
No, they'll be forced to do.
Yeah, so honestly speaking, it's like we need to do a post-mortem report, I believe. You did a post-mortem report of the country's economy. And so I believe like I have 2 questions. Maybe we can ask, maybe other people, you can also, if you have any questions, you can put on the chat box.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll answer. And my question is, like, what kind of plans as an SME?
Bharti, your voice is cracking. Slight a bit.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Bharti, your voice is cracking a bit. I don't know, probably a Zoom issue. Yeah, I'm able to hear. I think it's because of Zoom. Yeah, please go ahead.
Now can you hear me? Is it okay, right? Is it fine now?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So it's like now we come to know
much
that,
better. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Now we come to know that anyhow we are not going to avail loans from the government side or anything like that. So at this condition, it's like what kind of plans as an MSME must do in terms of creating a business continuity plan for next 1 year or 2 years? What are the things you advise in terms of creating? What are the points we should focus in terms of creating business continuity plan?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Your voice was cracking, so I'll take up the question in terms of business continuity plan. What are all the points to be focused? Like I mentioned, right, the important point which I'm seeing at this point of time is companies are taking decision to just have their core team at this point of time to continue. So whatever is your extra sales guy, your marketing guy, your other guys, say if there are 6 members or 7 members in a finance team, they are reducing it almost to two members at this point of time. You're asking the remaining 5 members to go. So where are they going to go at this point of time? So the first and important thing is you need to continuously freeze for next 3 months. What is the cash flow you have in hand, right? And based on that cash flow, take a hard saying that, okay, 50%, I'm going to ask my employees to cut down my salary. And I frankly believe employees are understanding at this point of time when you say that there's going to be a pay cut, because all they are looking at this point of time is existing, right? And food. So they are not expecting any sort of extra activities coming from companies. So they completely understand that company is facing a tough time. What they are praying is, hey, company should not fire me. So please go ahead and speak with your employees saying that, look, we have a very clear plan for next 3 months.
we are not going to fire you at any point of time. Please take the thought out of your mind. Because I'm interacting with a lot of employees and their fear is, Lalit, I'm not getting sleep at night because I'm afraid that tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'll have a firing mail on my mailbox. So if you have funds and if you know next 3 months you're not going to fire anyone, go ahead and communicate that to employees. Don't be under the assumption that employees will understand, they will know. Go ahead and communicate saying that don't even get worried. We have subsequent adequate funds for next 3 to 6 months. Everyone will be taken care of. And also communicate to them that there's going to be a cut. Worst case, tell them 50% cut, 70% cut. Best case, at the end of them, give them 30% cut. Under promise or deliver, under promise or deliver, under promise or deliver. This on the one side in terms of employee. I am also seeing there's a lot of rental negotiation which is happening with your landlords. So again, go and negotiate with your landlord saying that, hey, look, I'm working with 30% capacity, 50% capacity. I'm not using your facilities. Kindly please provide me with, some sort of rental benefit. So I'm pretty sure they are going to provide you a 30% cut or a 50% cut over there. The important factor is your raw materials, right? And if you are able to somehow control this uncontrollable factor of raw material for next 3 months, just 3 months, I think you're in. Because if you're surviving for next 3 months, you will survive for next 30 years. 100% I'm pretty sure if you're surviving for next 3 to 6 months, you will just come out of a very, very big churn. And that is exactly what you should be doing in terms of business continuity. So there can be only 3 ways: your employees, your RM related side of it, and your rental related. If all 3 are in its place, then I think you have nothing to worry.
Oh, great. And how you think about the IT companies should plan? So since I'm an I have an IT company, most of my guys are working at home. So how I can handle the situation from your perspective?
All I'm hearing from my IT friends sitting at Bangalore is what work they were doing for 7 days is now getting completed in a day, right? There used to be status call of listed company. I want to name the listed company. There used to be status call of those companies once a month. Now it's happening once a day. So there is tracking which is happening every single day, saying that, oh, okay, this work has been given, this work has been given, this work has been given. The challenges which has been faced is there's good amount of security issues which are being happening at this point of time for working at home. Because ultimately you don't have a proper kind of VPN network. Either you need to have a VPN network. If you don't have, you're gone. So a lot of IT companies globally who are giving you tender contracts, right? If you read their agreement, they say that all these things have to take care in a proper security environment. If anything is leaked, you're gone. And each one of us have seen how Zoom, there's a lot of hacking which has happened. 2 days back, my call was hacked on Zoom. So there was some foreign guy who came and who was speaking some gibberish. So it became very, very difficult. So it's getting hacked. It's getting completely gone for a toss. So you can't work on Zoom on confidential deals, and you have no other way to work on such deals. So it has slowed down, but for IT companies globally itself, US when I spoke with a lot of clients, they are saying everything has come at a standstill at this point of time. And it has so slowed down significantly for them. Over there, mind you, Trump has completely messed up. At least over here, our Modi ji has taken control of situation and post early. Over there, Trump has completely messed up. So people are now sitting at home, not even willing to work. So I think majority of our IT, all back-end projects which we do from Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Gurgaon, Mumbai, are coming from US, UK. This is completely on a hold. So tough time again.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lalit. And one more question. In terms of FDI, especially with the Chinese investors. So we had recently listened to this, what happened with HDFC, and how you take this, like, because we have like more Chinese investor coming up. Is it advisable to take investments from them as a startup or a business owner at this moment? What's your advice on this?
No, at this point of time, this particular FDI regulation, if you read, they have so whatever we are connected with roads, they have said that government approval has to be taken instead of automatic approval, right? And a lot of startup venture capital guys who have complained about this, saying that, hey, look, all our funding in the fund which we are managing in India at this point of time is coming from China, Singapore. If you're going to block the Chinese thing, and if you don't give funding over here to me over here in India, how am I going to fund my startups? So what about we going and asking directly to the Chinese, whichever funding, venture capital fund. So that's an interesting fact which I'm going to tell you, right? Into India, private equity as well as venture capital fund, only 5 of them had Canadian pension. 22 funds have one single investor, which is the Canadian pension fund. And majority of the Canadian pension fund as well as Chinese investment is coming into India only from these two sources. So when top 22 funds are now put on hold indirectly by the government, because government is worrying that my listed companies will be taken over. Government is forgetting that almost 70% of the HDFC Bank is owned by foreigners here.
Yeah.
You can't worry about China taking over or some other country taken over. Anyways, take over by incorporating a company in, say, Dubai, and then Dubai investing into India.
Of course.
So you can't control all those scenarios and situations coming into picture. I think is reacting on some knee-jerk effect is being given to them.
Oh, great.
And one question.
Mr. Riaz had asked one question.
Yeah, I would like to know whether the MSME has a policy not to provide loans to service industry under a firm. Sorry, I did not get. As an experienced international, would like to know whether the MSME has a policy not to provide loans to service industry where firms like Mike come under. I don't know which firm you're.
He's into PR.
Okay, PR ke andar he needed specific funds. No, I don't think there are specific policies from MSME providing for PR at this point of time.
Finally,
because it's completely different. Yeah, so very, very difficult at this point of time, Riaz. More so in the present situation, I don't think there's any policy which is going to come up specifically. I do have a question with respect to over leverage existing loan. I don't know whether to smile or to cry for this. In case you are having over leverage existing loan, good part is to classify you as a defaulter. Now you have a 3-month window where they can't treat you as an NPA and they can't classify you as a defaulter. So you might be saved under that particular position, and by the time you are back to normal, bank might again give you normal position funding coming into picture. So this over leverage might become normal loans, but you can't expect further top up from banks coming into picture. Riaz, my second question is when it is advisable to open our physical rental office after a lockdown period? I mean, approximately how many months? I don't know. Again, Riaz, the state subject, like I said, right? So central government yesterday came up and said that, hey, look, you can open up essential and non-essential office. Whereas Tamil Nadu, we are going for a lockdown from tomorrow, and I'm not pretty sure if we'll open up from 3rd because we have Ramzan also at this point of time, and if government tries to open up, we might have some sort of issues coming into picture over there. And what will you do by opening up here? Say if you open up a Titan showroom or a Bata or a Relaxo or an IFB or a Whirlpool or a Chroma, who are the people who are going to come and buy? I'm not going to go and buy a Titan a watch here at this point of time. Not at least for next 2-3 months. I'm not going to go to Chroma to buy a television. I don't have any luxury. I don't have money to pay to salary. I don't think people will go and buy. So I think unless you're in some specific service which has global implications where you're providing service globally, or you're in some sort of export businesses, or you're in a business which is an essentials, any sort of customer discretionary business is going to take some time. You can open up post government giving up, but after opening up also, it's going to get very, very challenging.
Oh, fantastic. Any other questions? Your opinion on
Purchase of helmets. I don't know if you are asking if Tamil Nadu police is going to hit you for not wearing, or in general, a helmet business. If you're asking me my opinion in terms of doing it, helmet as well as mask is going to rule going forward. The way we are doing meetings and the way we are going to interact with people, it's going to be way different. So we'll see a good amount of innovation coming over there.
Yeah. So that's it, Lalit. I think we have mostly addressed the questions. So another question is MSME concern on service industry. The final question you can address, Lalit. So Riaz
What
had
all
asked.
benefit I get? What all benefit I get of MSME? There's a lot of benefit, like Bharti had mentioned, saying that when you're an MSME player, right, you have a TSME scheme which is there. You have Sampadhan, you have Sampark, kind of initiative. You have entrepreneurship development programs which are there when you're an MSME. So there are a lot of programs, benefits which are there. Only problem is SIDBI has a lot of programs again. Only problem is the execution and implementation of it, right? You need to have a very, very serious intention to execute, to implement all of these schemes so that they are effective, or else you can have thousands of schemes here. Like I said, right, SIDBI came up with the startup assistance scheme. Name vaste, they had come up with that scheme. You can have such 1,000 schemes, but when you're not going to benefit, the intention is not to benefit. I mean, then there's nothing much to do over there.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. If you have more questions, you can send it to info@bhh.in, and I'll also pass on to Lalit, and he will be able to answer you. And Lalit, thank you so much, Lalit. And I can able to see the same passion and all together. Romba romba nandri.
Thank you so much.
And guys, we have another next seminar which is happening on Tuesday, which will be the guest speaker will be JP Valdis from Singapore, and he is also a business coach. You can learn more about sales and marketing. So by this, I'm signing off. And Lalit, thank you so much. We'll end this webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lalit. I hope everybody at least have taken one takeaway.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Thank you so much. Thank you.